One of the things I wanted to have you on to chat about, Renee, was I saw your, one of the things that just completely blew my fucking mind the other day was, you quote tweeted Brianna Joy Gray, who screenshotted her fucking student loan payment. And like,
Mhm.
obviously, like Brianna's like, she'll be fine. She's,
Right. But
but
I'm a
just
soothsayer. Exactly what I said was going to happen is what happened. I'm a soothsayer. I said
100%.
it.
Yeah. And it was crazy to me because that anybody would be expected, like any regular person would be expected to make a payment of $2,700 to the federal government for student loans for college. I mean, it's absolutely absurd to me. It was freaking crazy. Like I've responded and I was like, this is more than double what I pay for rent. Like fucking
Yeah. But
craziness.
I mean, she went to law school, and I think she paid for her entire law school using loans. So
Yeah, I mean, how
she's,
else, right? Like, I mean, if you don't
yeah,
have a massive trust fund, like it's insanity. Like it's insanity. I
right.
was talking to my sister who's looking to do a master's program at an Ivy, and it's just like, bro,
It's
you
a
almost have
lot.
no choice but to go to like a fucking massive corporate operation
Right.
after that if you ever
And
want to pay this shit off. It's
right.
insane, and that's obviously
And the only reason my debt is not out of control is because, I'm old. Like when I went to college, it was expensive at the time, but it was nothing compared to what it costs now, right? Like the school I went to has literally tripled. The tuition has tripled since I graduated, which is nuts in my opinion. Um, and so, her owing what she owes monthly just means she paid for her entire law school probably using loans, and she probably owes over 200 grand. And that's wild. I mean, good for her that she can
bro, shout out to her for
pay
letting
for
everybody
it.
know she's gonna pay that off a lump sum. I was like, bro,
Right.
Brianna's
Right.
balling out of control.
Right. And I listen, I got a lot of love for Brianna Joy Gray. I think she does a wonderful job with her interviews. But she was making enough money, so I stopped giving her $5 a month because I was like, you don't
Yeah,
need my $5 a month. You be
yeah.
all right. So,
Dude,
so she's
those
clearly doing okay without it. And
Those
so,
Chapo fans, man, they will fucking fork over the cash. Those Chapo
yeah,
guys were making a
she's
fucking fortune off of. I
right,
mean, yeah, and
right.
also honestly, while those guys are up, I mean, thoughts and I know it's like lame to say thoughts and prayers to Matt Chris. We haven't talked about that, but really, really pulling for that guy and his family right now.
Yeah.
That was a devastating little bit of news, especially with this birth of his child and everything. Really, really terrible timing. But anyway.
But I mean, people were all upset, like her audacity. That's what she gets for going to Harvard, blah, blah, blah. And I
Fucking,
was
what are you
like,
talking
y'all are
about?
missing the
We're all
whole point. Like you're missing the whole, like you like ran into the point and like kept going and just
who among us
completely
was
missed
not
it
told to
completely.
try and go to Harvard?
Right. I mean, listen, and I work in a high school, and I don't tell kids to go to Ivies because it's expensive. And I know professors who taught at Ivies and prisons at the same time and said that their students in prison were better. So I'm not impressed by the Ivy League thing. That said, you make the choice that you make at the time that you have to make it, right? And everybody has to do what they think is going to be most beneficial for them when they finish school. So if you have an opportunity to go to an Ivy League and you're convinced that going to the Ivy League is going to be the best for you after you graduate, then that's the step that you're going to take. I thought in my mind, it was really just about the fact that student loans were kicking back in. I don't care that she went to Harvard. I don't care what her payment is. I don't care that she can pay it off. I thought the fact that just calling the attention to the fact that all these people, including me, including my husband, are going to have to start paying their student loans again. And that was the point. So that everybody kind of, swerved off course and started talking about where she went to school and how much she owes and why nobody cares and da da da. I'm like, you're missing the point. The point is that there are over 40 million people who are about to start having to pay loans again. And if you are already struggling and you are already trying to like keep your life together, and now you have another $200, $300, $600 bill coming out of your pocket, like that's a lot. And it's painful for some people. And some people, yeah, like some people will be able to pay it off and they'll be like, okay, the window's done, I have to pay it, and they won't have a problem. But a lot of people can barely pay their rent.
Yeah.
Right. And so I saw people saying like, oh, well, the average, most people only owe less than $20,000. That's like a $250 payment. And I'm like, boo, some people don't get out of their paycheck comes and they're still in the negative. they don't have $250. Like, to make the assumption like $250 isn't that much money, to who? Because there are people who are living on $250 a week, right?
Yeah.
They're living on that money. They're living on.
We've all seen those
$250 a
photos
month.
of like what $100 buys in groceries these days. $250
Right.
is really like, you know,
It's a
you got to
lot.
make that fucking stretch if that's what you got to survive. And yeah, I mean, just telling someone to pay $250 a month until $20,000 is paid off, and acting like that's not a massive, potentially devastating
Right.
financial,
I mean, that's
ball and
10
chain is
years.
insane.
It's 10 years of $250. Like, a lot of people don't have that. And, listen, I try to make it clear. Like, I'm not trying to pretend I don't have a decent job. I work in a school, right? Eventually, I think I'm supposed to qualify for that public service loan thing that's like a thing, although apparently my old school doesn't qualify, so whatever. So I don't think I'll be paying for another 10 years, but I literally owe more today than I owed when I got my master's degree in 1999. And I've been paying on that bad boy for years, right? So like, to me, I don't want to talk about why people got into debt. The fact of the matter is the student debt was something that was set up intentionally to create these situations for people who are already in a sticky situation. Most people going to college because they're trying to get out of whatever situation they're living in at the time. And they've been convinced that that's going to be the only way for them to get out of that situation.
Not only that, like where Gavin and I went to school, bro, like the amount of like just vitriol and like, oh, you're throwing your whole fucking life away, and like, oh, you're going to community college, that's where dreams go to fucking die, like all this kinds of shit. It was so rooted in like class, like but it was like every single fucking like, go to college and get this degree or you will be fucking poor and miserable and homeless and it'll be all your fucking fault. And like, you tell that to a bunch of kids that are already like fucking, I mean, everybody that's 18 is just shit scared of failure, right? So it's like, like, what are they gonna do? And then you say, oh yeah, this is the only like, other than that, like, go get a job, make minimum wage. Like, no, or you could take out this loan for $100,000 and go somewhere cool for 4 years with all your friends and get drunk and party and like, oh yeah, go to school sometimes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's really like that. You make that pitch to somebody that's 18, 17, 19, whatever,
and they're gonna go. They're gonna go, and they're gonna sign whatever you tell them to sign in order for them to be able to go. And then it can be really painful. Like, I'm not gonna lie, we're okay financially, but it's gonna hurt. Like, when them payments come out, it's gonna hurt my feelings, because that is a lot. That's gonna affect a lot in our everyday, like, like what we've been living the past couple of years, because we didn't have to make those payments. Like, it's a lot of money, and it just sucks, man. It sucks. And it really sucks that, like, I have to say, like, who paused the payments, and who brought them back.
And also after promising and campaigning on debt relief to give everybody this fucking bullshit, and on top of that, letting everybody fill out their like their shit and get approved, and it like tells you like, yeah, you qualify, and you get the fucking letter back, and you like feel the fucking physical weight. Like, you feel the physical weight come off your shoulders. You're like, wow, 10 grand is gone off my fucking student debt.
And I would have got
I didn't
20
even fucking
because
graduate.
I was a Pell Grant kid. I would have got the 20. That would have been almost my entire undergraduate loan would have been completely forgiven.
Yeah, and by the way, Catherine, the federal government has over and over again subsidized and bailed out massive corporate industries over and over and over again. I think they can bail out basically an entire generation of Americans that are shackled with student debt, which is preventing them from fully participating in the economy, and which is holding back the economy from actually, being good at all. So yeah, I think the government can take care of that shit.
Also, just to add one more thing, guys, let me explain. The capitalists want to come here, but they don't know what they're talking about. Let me explain capitalism to the capitalists for a second, okay? In any other fucking industry, besides the student loan crisis, right? When you give somebody a loan in America, it is considered you are taking a business risk, right? Remember all this shit we hear? Oh, this propaganda, like the businessman took the risk. Oh, that's why he gets all the reward. He took the fucking risk. Yeah, well, you guys risked your fucking loans on me, bro. That's the market, man. The market decided not to pay you back. The market said, I didn't even fucking graduate, dog. You're not getting this money from me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy that people are like, oh, yeah, you took out a loan, pay it back. It's like, bro, you gave a loan to a fucking child, dude. They like it was a stupid decision on your part, and they knew it was a stupid decision on their part. And so what they did was they went and lobbied.
I mean, honestly, in the past 15 years, because y'all know how I get with trying to look up numbers. I was like, let me do my little bit of research. Over 15 years, the student loan debt increased by 107%. Like, in what world is it a good idea to increase the amount of debt that people are going into by that much for something that you were telling them they have to do in order to survive? Like, it's not like we're telling these children, you have to go to college, you have to get your degree, you have to do this, right? Like, not going to college was not even an option when I graduated from high school. It was not a consideration. It was not something I could think about. I graduated from high school and I was going to college. That was it.
Literally.
Now, it's wild to me that people really will look around and be like, oh, well, you took the debt out. And I'm like, okay, how'd your family make your money? Why didn't you have to pay student loans? What did you grow up on? What generational wealth did your family earn all by themselves without any help from anybody that allowed you to be in a situation where you can judge people who found themselves owing money in order to get their degrees? There's no one, none of these people who are running around pretending like we're all wrong for wanting to kill the student debt. Not one of them earned a dime that allowed them to go to school and not have student debt without being on somebody's back. So it's bullshit. It's all bullshit.
Also, shout out to you, Rory. Thank you so much for the generous super chat. Having undertook a law degree in Sydney and then a scholarship to do a master's at Harvard, I couldn't afford it, nor did it assist in practice. It's monetization of education that does not assist. Yeah, that's 100% accurate, Rory. And yeah, the commodification of education in general, the kind of corporatization and privatization of education only kind of, makes the right wing's arguments against this stuff stronger, or at least appear stronger, because you're right. They can point to the fact that so much of higher education is just kind of a scam and be like, well, why is the government, subsidizing these private institutions, largely private institutions, which are just milking Americans for degrees that don't even actually help them that much in the workplace. So yeah, we need to return, education to the public. And that's why we need to offer free college for people, just like how we do K through 12. At least the first 4 years of college should absolutely be publicly paid for. And that way, this sort of thing wouldn't really matter. But I think that's excellent insight, Rory. And I think I've anecdotally heard a lot of people say similar things. I mean, even in my own professional life as a filmmaker, going to film school certainly helped with some connections. I made some connections, got an internship, going to school. But it's not like I necessarily needed to go to school. I think most of that stuff I was able to figure out on my own. A lot of the stuff I already had figured out by the time I got there in the first place. So yeah, I think that it's a complex conversation, but ultimately education should be public to the largest extent possible, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah.
And somebody mentioned the GI Bill, and the GI Bill sounds like a good idea until you realize you have to fight the military to make sure that they actually pay for your education. And if we're talking about the GI Bill from back after World War II, when Black people weren't actually allowed to use that money, it's just one more example of how things were set up, but then not always equitably placed amongst all the people who sacrificed in order to achieve them. So, people can throw out all these like, well, what about this and what about that? Nothing in this country is equitable. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, you're great. Now we have a bunch of fucking poor kids that are signing up to die because they're desperate for an education. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I'm not fucking doing that shit. I was born lucky, man. Like 6 weeks after I got on this planet, I lost a kidney. I was like, whoo, never getting drafted. You know what I mean? But like, you know what I mean? I was never fucking signing up for free college through the military. Fuck that shit, dude. Shout out to my old man who from early on gave me the advice. My dad was in the military. He did 4 years after high school, and he always called it the Great Lakes, training facility, Great Mistakes training facility. He did not put any fucking veneer of loveliness over that shit. He was like, fuck that shit. You would hate it.
For real. And not for nothing, like, you know, the thing that you have to complete in order to get the grants from the federal government, the FAFSA application, you have to agree to be in the draft. So there's not even like, you know, like people don't understand. You can't sign up to get the federal monies if you don't agree to release your name to the draft. Like that's part of it's part of the requirement. If you say no, you don't qualify for any money.
Yeah, people tell you that you have to like fucking put your name in the like draft thing. I never fucking did that, and nobody's ever beat down my fucking door. So you know,
oh, you did. If you filled out the FAFSA application, you did. You just
did you?
don't realize,
man. There we go. Well, yeah, I guess we did.
Now they're not, you know, they're not
They're
drafting.
gonna have to find me in
anymore.
Canada though, bro. Gavin and I already have. We got an escape route. I-35 all the way up. You know.